Hey, you. Yes, you. The one who's watching this video because you're not average. I'm talking to the part of you that knows you're meant to stand out, that you're ready to understand what most people will never realize about the mind. I've spent hours going through articles, videos, and research to find the absolute best methods in reverse psychology. Out of everything, I filtered out 11 powerful techniques that are going to change the way you influence others. So, are you ready to take control? This isn't for those who want to sit on the sidelines. This is for those who dare to step up and become a master of persuasion. But remember, this isn't just about using clever tricks. This is about understanding how people's minds work so you can use it ethically and effectively. I'm sharing this with you because you're special to me. I know that if anyone can put this knowledge to good use, it's you. So let's dive into the 11 best ways to use reverse psychology to persuade others. Number 1, the forbidden fruit strategy. There's an interesting phenomenon in psychology called reactance, which describes how people tend to desire something more if it's presented as off-limits or discouraged. This is at the heart of the forbidden fruit strategy. By subtly suggesting that someone shouldn't or perhaps wouldn't want to do something, you create an aura of intrigue around the very action you want them to take. Imagine you're trying to persuade a friend to try a new restaurant. Instead of saying, "You have to try this place. It's amazing," try saying, "I'm not sure you'd like kind of an acquired taste and not for everyone." By suggesting that the experience might not suit them, you create a sense of exclusivity. Most people will feel curious or even slightly challenged, which leads them to think, "Why wouldn't I like it? I'll try it and see for myself." This approach works especially well with people who are independent-minded or enjoy proving others wrong. In romantic relationships, this strategy can work too, especially if you're in the early stages of getting to know someone. If they ask for a recommendation on a movie, rather than eagerly pushing them to watch your favorite, try, "I liked it, but I don't think it's everyone's type of film. It's kind of unconventional." This subtle suggestion that it's exclusive and maybe even hard to appreciate might make them curious enough to check it out. By creating an allure of the forbidden or challenging, you've indirectly influenced their choice. Number 2, the "I don't mind" technique. Reverse psychology isn't always about creating a sense of exclusivity. Sometimes a show of indifference can do the trick. When people sense that you're not heavily invested in a specific outcome, it can pique their curiosity and make them wonder, why are they so casual about it? Let's take the example of recommending a TV show to a friend. Instead of saying, "You'd love this show, it's perfect for you," try saying, "Honestly, you might not like it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But hey, if you don't end up liking it, no big deal." By expressing a neutral stance, you remove any perceived pressure for them to enjoy the show. In this way, you're handing the choice over to them in a relaxed way, making them more likely to explore it on their own terms. A similar example could be used if you're trying to convince a partner to try a new hobby, like cooking. Rather than saying, "You should definitely try cooking, it's so rewarding," say, "It's really not for everyone. Some people find it tedious, but I don't mind if you give it a shot just to see." With that, they might feel compelled to try it, wondering what they might be missing or why you're so laid back about it. This technique is especially effective with people who don't like feeling pushed or pressured, as it keeps the decision feeling organic and self-driven. Number 3, the reverse challenge. People naturally dislike feeling underestimated or dismissed. This is where the reverse challenge comes into play. By implying that someone may not be capable or interested in handling a particular challenge, you often ignite their desire to prove otherwise. For example, let's say you're encouraging a friend to join a challenging fitness class. Instead of saying, "You should try this class, it's really great," go with something more subtle. "It's a pretty intense class, so I'm not sure if it would be something you'd want to tackle just yet." By doubting their interest or ability, you're appealing to their competitive spirit, sparking the need to prove that they can handle it. Most people, especially if they're slightly competitive, will want to show that they're up to the task. In the workplace, this strategy can work with team members who might be hesitant to take on a difficult project. If you tell someone, "I'd like you to take this on, but I know it's quite demanding and not everyone can keep up with the requirements," you might spark an internal motivation. They'll want to rise to the challenge, in part to demonstrate their abilities. This strategy works particularly well with individuals who are self-assured or have a competitive edge, as it fuels their drive to prove themselves. Number 4, using choice restriction. When people have too many options, they can sometimes feel overwhelmed, leading to decision fatigue, where the person has a hard time deciding on anything at all. But if you limit choices and make one seem a bit more difficult or less attractive, people tend to go for the simpler, more accessible choice without a second thought. This is called the principle of choice restriction. Imagine you're helping a friend choose between 2 restaurants. Instead of saying, "Both places are really good, so take your pick," you could say, "Both are nice, but restaurant A tends to be fully booked and has a long wait time. Restaurant B is easier to get into." By creating a small hurdle for one option, you've nudged them toward the option you prefer without outright pushing them there. This technique is also effective in business or managerial contexts. Suppose you want a team member to work on a specific project, but you're giving them 2 options. Instead of saying, "Which one do you prefer to take on?" say, "You can choose either Project A or Project B, though Project A is quite demanding and has a lot of tight deadlines." This simple framing can make Project B feel like the better choice, and often they'll lean towards it, believing it was their choice. Number 5, the underestimate their interest trick. When you suggest that something might not interest someone, you create a sense of intrigue that can lead them to wonder if you're underestimating their tastes or judgment. This method is particularly useful when trying to build someone's interest in an activity, book, movie, or even an idea. Let's say you're recommending a book to someone. Instead of saying, "You'll really like this book," "It's great," try saying, "It's kind of specific, so I'm not sure it would be your type, but I enjoyed it." The understated recommendation is powerful because it presents the book as something that might not appeal to everyone, making it feel more mysterious or special. The person may think, "Why wouldn't I like it? I'll give it a shot just to see." In another context, imagine trying to encourage a family member to take up an unusual hobby, like learning an instrument. Rather than pushing them directly by saying, "You'd be great at it," you could say, "Learning an instrument can be really rewarding, but not everyone enjoys the process. I'm not sure if it would be your thing, but I found it really fun." By not overstating your opinion, you give them room to decide on their own, and they're more likely to explore the hobby out of curiosity. This technique is particularly effective because it taps into people's desire to understand or experience things for themselves. By subtly doubting their interest, you've set up a mild challenge that encourages them to prove you wrong or see if your assessment was accurate. Number 6, don't worry about it. When someone hears the phrase, "Don't worry about it," it often triggers a natural reaction of curiosity or even mild concern. This technique can work wonders when you're hoping to get someone invested in a task or project without directly asking them. By downplaying its importance, you stir a desire in them to prove they can handle it or to find out why you seem so unconcerned. Imagine a scenario at work where you're hoping a colleague will take over a responsibility you think they'd be good at. Instead of directly asking them, you could say, "You know what? Don't worry about this project if it's not something you want to get into. I can handle it." Hearing this, they might start to feel intrigued or even a bit challenged, thinking, "Why doesn't he want me to take this on?" This subtle nudge often leads people to take on the task, driven by a curiosity to understand it or a desire to prove their capability. The phrase, "Don't worry about it," strategically creates the illusion of choice, making them more likely to commit on their own terms. Number 7, making it seem difficult. Framing a task as challenging taps into people's natural aversion to feeling incapable or inferior. When someone hears that a task is difficult, it can ignite their determination to prove they're up for it, making this technique highly effective in motivating people to take on something they might otherwise avoid. Let's say you're teaching a friend to play an instrument. Rather than saying, "It's easy, anyone can do it," you might say, "This piece is pretty tough." Most people don't get it on the first try. This statement, far from discouraging them, can actually fuel their drive to tackle the task and show that they're not most people. The appeal lies in the implied challenge, which encourages them to approach the task with more focus and effort than if it had seemed simple. This technique works well in various settings, from encouraging students to tackle a complex subject to motivating team members to try a new project. When a task is framed as difficult, people often take it more seriously, driven by a desire to overcome the perceived challenge. Number 8, praise the opposite. This strategy involves giving mild praise to the less desirable option, subtly making the other choice appear more desirable. By highlighting the benefits of a less ideal choice, you're planting a seed of doubt that can lead the person to question why you're downplaying the option you actually want them to pick. For example, if you're trying to convince someone to choose option A over option B, you might say, option B is good if you're just looking for something relaxed and not too challenging. By framing option B as the safe or unambitious choice, you're indirectly making option A appear more impressive, challenging, or desirable. People who enjoy feeling like they're choosing something special or advanced may quickly pick up on this and lean towards option A, seeing it as the option for someone who's willing to go above and beyond. This technique can be useful in various situations, from influencing a friend's choice of movie to persuading someone to select a particular project. By gently steering them toward the choice you'd prefer, you give them a nudge without ever pushing too hard. Number 9, the limited availability angle. People are naturally drawn to things that are scarce, unique, or limited. When something seems like it might not be available for long, a sense of urgency kicks in, and they're more likely to want it to avoid missing out. This is the principle of limited availability, and it taps into the psychological concept of FOMO, fear of missing out. Let's say you're offering places in a workshop or seats for an event. Rather than saying, you can join anytime, try saying, I only have a few spots left and I think others might fit better for this. By suggesting limited spots or subtly hinting that others are interested, you create a sense of scarcity. This makes the offer more attractive as people feel compelled to act quickly and secure their spot. This angle can work in various contexts, from social invitations to encouraging a friend to take advantage of a sale. When people sense that they might miss out, they're often more motivated to commit than they would be if they felt no urgency. This limited availability approach not only increases their interest, but also accelerates their decision-making process. Number 10, making it their decision. One of the most effective ways to persuade someone is to let them feel that they're fully in control of the choice. By giving them the freedom to make their own decision, you reduce resistance and make them more open to taking the action you subtly desire. This technique, called the illusion of choice, is a cornerstone of reverse psychology. For example, if you want someone to help you with a project, instead of saying, I really need your help with this, try saying, it's totally up to you if you want to get involved. I understand if it's not your thing. This gives them the power to decide, which ironically increases the likelihood that they'll say yes. When they feel no pressure, they're more inclined to help out of their own accord, believing it was their own choice. This technique can be powerful in parenting, relationships, and even sales. By allowing others to make the final decision, you respect their autonomy, which often leads them to the outcome you had in mind in the first place. Making it their decision minimizes resistance and helps foster a cooperative response, as people generally prefer to feel in control. Number 11, reverse motivation through neglect. This is a subtle yet powerful technique that involves showing a lack of interest in an outcome you actually want. By holding back your excitement or investment, you make the person wonder why you're so unaffected, which can spark their curiosity and motivate them to take action. Imagine you're encouraging a friend to join you on a trip. Instead of saying, I'd love it if you'd come, try a more detached approach. It's really up to you. It won't affect me either way. This lack of attachment creates a sense of mystery or even challenge. They might wonder, why doesn't he care if I come? This often drives people to take action to gain your attention or approval, even if they weren't originally inclined to do so. This tactic works in various interpersonal situations, especially when you're dealing with people who are a bit independent or like to feel as though they're making their own decisions. By underplaying your own desire for them to join, you increase the likelihood that they'll make the choice to engage, motivated by their curiosity about your indifference. You're not average, and if you've made it this far, then you're someone who wants to see the world differently. Remember, these techniques aren't tricks. They're insights into how people think. Insights I've carefully chosen because I believe you're the right person to understand them. So go ahead and apply these techniques, but use them responsibly. After all, great power comes with great responsibility. If this resonated with you, hit the subscribe button and let's keep unlocking more secrets of the mind together. And remember, the next time someone thinks they can predict you, you'll have the tools to surprise them.